There's an amazing similarity between the game of chess and how God uses people, and they both involve strategy at one level or another. Both may look different, and they act different. They may have different strengths and weaknesses, and even different limitations. Some pieces move a lot, and this forces the opponent to become defensive. Other pieces seem to never move at all, and in not moving, they occupy a space that actually ties the hand of the opponent and thwarts the plans of evil. Kind of like this chessboard. Light pieces, forces of good, God; dark pieces, forces of evil. Well, to the chess master, both those that move and those pieces that don't move are equally as valuable. It doesn't matter who gets the credit. It only matters that there's one kingdom that remains standing at the end of the game. So whether you see it or not, you're part of an incredible chess game here on earth. In the visible realm, you're going to go about your day-to-day activity. You go to work, you drop the kids off at school, you go shopping, you run errands, but did you know that all around you, during all the time you're doing this, there's movement. Movement in the spiritual dimension, and that movement is based upon your movements. Your decisions cause a ripple effect in the heavens. Like these chess pieces, you and I have specific responsibilities that need to be fulfilled. And we have specific abilities that need to be utilized to reach the purpose for which we were created. You have a gift and you have a purpose, unlike the person next to you. The pawn doesn't look like the rook, and the rook certainly doesn't look like the knight or look like the queen. You won't be used in the same way as the person that's next to you. A simple pawn, like this pawn right here, for example, it may spend its entire life sitting in one square. And as it sits there, it may think that it wants to be a rook. But a pawn that wants to be a rook doesn't understand the immense value that a pawn has in the hands of a skilled chess master. So again, take this pawn for example. It may not move the entire game. It doesn't mean for a moment that it's any less important than this rook that moves a lot or often in the game. The rook may get a lot of attention. It moves great distances all at once, far more squares than a pawn may. But in the overall strategy, the pawn is just as important as the rook, who might appear to be doing more. Much like the game of chess, you may feel you're simply a pawn. You're not a missionary to Africa. You don't have international connections or international influence. You may have lived in the same city your entire life, maybe even the same house your entire life, but you're still a critical part of God's plan. Do you want to know how? Okay, let's take a little bit closer look at this pawn. It might not move much at all, but when it does, it's slow. It moves maybe one, maybe two squares at a time. But here's what the pawn does. It occupies space that keeps the enemy from advancing and taking that ground. The pawn may occupy that space the entire game. Space the enemy wants, space that protects the more celebrated pieces that are around it. Any experienced chess player will tell you this is strategically true. But what does this principle look like in the spiritual arena? How does it affect you? I had an experience, whether it was a dream or a vision, I'm not quite certain. Sometimes it's hard to tell. But in this moment, I watched an afternoon in the life of a woman. While I watched this woman, I saw her actions and how her actions impacted the spiritual atmosphere all around her. The woman had just moved into a new apartment complex. While the new apartment was affordable, she didn't like it nearly as much as the one she moved from. Dejected, she enters the apartment she never wanted to change in the first place. She walks in, it's in a different part of town, and what she doesn't see is that angels have gone before her and closed opportunities that would usually have been available.
Keep me safe from harm, oh love, oh these latter days they've taken.
This apartment is a lot smaller than her previous apartment.
Pieces of my heart.
Where's she going to put her furniture? Frustration begins to mount. That very moment, I hear shrieking voices saying, "Oh no, we have to leave, she's here now."
Come find me.
See, God has a plan for this woman, and it starts with a trip to the grocery store. As she's driving, the woman spots the grocery store she's looking for, but she's in the wrong lane. The car next to her is blocking her from the turn lane she needs to be in, so she slows down, hoping to make the turn, and the car next to her slows down too. I see her frustration. She then speeds up, and the car next to her seems to speed up as well, and she's now becoming very frustrated. She misses her turn, but decides to keep on going. What she doesn't see is that angels around the car next to her are literally slowing the car down and speeding the car up. So they're pulling on the car, they're pushing on the car. She wasn't supposed to go to that store. It was not part of the plan. Before the woman can turn around, she spots another grocery store, and because of the ease of the turn, she decides to go into that store instead. I see her with a small shopping basket full of items, making her way toward the cashier, when suddenly another lady with a basket overflowing with groceries, you've seen those, like mounded, cuts in front of her, almost hitting her. What she doesn't see is that an angel was standing between her and the woman with the cart, so the woman didn't even see her. Remember, there's movement all around us. I see the countenance of this woman as she makes her way to the next available line. The frustration is even more obvious than before. As she's getting checked out, I then hear the thoughts of the cashier who's watching her as she's checking her out. The cashier is saying to herself, "Why can't I be like this woman? She's got her act together. She has light coming from her. She has something that I want, and I don't have it." I watch the woman pay for her groceries and leave the cashier behind as she walks out the store. The next day, that cashier is in church and she gives her life to Jesus. And the woman that I followed in this experience had no idea at all that God had used her to touch that cashier. That experience taught me a lot about what I call the coexisting spiritual realm.